Okay, I'd like to thank you for using my last video, the one on my vision about the Children Night organization. Now, you want to know more about my views on vampires. Okay, you have the literary community. They're separate from the vampire community, with the exception of two things. Born vampires who like the literature and the movies and stuff, and lifestylers who like the literature and movies and stuff. Now, as I was going to say, as I said before, born vampires have a need for energy. But here's the thing: we are not human. We are, say, let's just wait. You have common ancestry here. You have primates and stuff going off this way, right? You have humans going this way on the evolutionary chart. Well, somewhere along the line, we started going off this way. We evolved out of humans. What can I say? Therefore we just happen to look like them. Now, you have in the vampire community, you have born vampires and lifestylers. Now, here's the unique thing about lifestylers, and that I love, that you can be a born vampire and still be a lifestyler. But if you're not a born vampire, you're just a lifestyle, and you're in the vampire community, and you live in the fangs, contacts, and stuff. You are just a lifestyler. Now, there are lifestylers who like born vampires, are into the occult, witchcraft, Satanism, stuff like this. But these lifestylers have also learned our feeding techniques and our energy work. And the honest ones that are not born vampires will tell you that they are a vampire in the sense that they are a lifestyler. So they're not, meaning they're not a born vampire. But unfortunately, you do have in the vampire community lifestylers who are dishonest and will tell you that they are a vampire in the sense of being a born vampire. And unfortunately, some of these people, to be perceived as a legitimate born vampire, will talk about if you are attracted to or identify with any part of vampire archetype, that you are a vampire. Well, it would be more simpler for them to say that if you are attracted to or identify with any part of vampire archetype, and you're not, but you don't have a natural need for energy, that you are a lifestyler type vampire, and therefore you are not a born vampire, and start identifying as a lifestyler instead of saying, oh well, I identify with the archetype, therefore I must be a vampire. That in the same sense that a person needs energy is a vampire. They're not. I mean, again, you have born vampires, you have lifestyle vampires that can be split into two types. Born vampires who are lifestylers, and just ordinary humans who are enjoying the lifestyle. But in the case of some of them, the lifestylers that are born human, that were born strictly human, they want to say that they are a vampire in the sense that like a born vampire. Now, let's get on to something that I've noticed for a while. You have people in the other kin community, which is a totally different thing. It's a totally different community. It's more of a spiritual thing. They believe they're vampires. I mean, not vampires, fairies, dragons, demons, angels, aliens, and I was wrong there when I said believe about vampires. Some of them will claim that they are vampires, but it's I don't buy into that one, because a lot of these people who are other kin that say they're vampires are also into the vampire lifestyle. And I think it's dishonest for a person that's in other kin that gets involved in the lifestyle to try to equate being involved with the lifestyle, and probably the occult too, as being the equivalent of being a born vampire, because it's not. And a lot of them get around this by saying, if you identify with a lot of these people that are vampire, let me slow down, back up, roll up here, right? A lot of these people who are vampire lifestylers, into the occult, but also say they're other kin, and here's the thing, use the fact that they are into the occult and they know our feeding techniques and stuff, and the fact identify with the vampire archetype will say if you identify with any aspect of the vampire archetype that you are a vampire. That, my friend, is not true. You are either born a vampire or you're a vampire lifestyler. No. I mean, again, you can be a born vampire and be into the lifestyle. But if you're not a born vampire, regardless, if you're not a born vampire, you're in the community, you are just a lifestyler. So, I mean, that still gives people who are born vampires room to be in the lifestyle aspect of it. But if you're a human or an other kin, and you identify with the archetype of the vampire, you can claim to be claim and talk like you're a born vampire all you want, but the fact is you are a lifestyler. It is as simple as that. And unfortunately, some of these other kin who are vampire lifestylers will go to the extent of claiming that they are these, like, for instance, Celtic vampiric entities. You know, what a lot of people will call, that's a Celtic fairy and it has vampiric tendencies and all that kind of stuff. These aren't just fairies. These are basically forms of vampire gods. They got identified with fairies. And I'm sorry, but if you are other kin and you're trying to say that you are and you're in the vampire community through the lifestyle and you're practicing occultism too, and you're trying to identify with a Celtic vampiric entity, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that you are a legitimate born vampire because of that. You are nothing more than a other kin who is also a vampire or lifestylist. That's it. Because being a vampire, a legitimate vampire, is something you are born, and it is a evolutionary branch in the other direction off of the human race. We're no longer human physically or spiritually. We just happen to look like them. You, as the other kin, are on a different path, but you just happen to another kin that's in the vampire community as a lifestyle, and just happens to be attracted to the vampire archetype. And identifying with and being attracted to the vampire archetype is totally different than being a legitimate vampire. It's just that simple. That's just not my view. I believe it to be a reality. And I honestly believe that there are other vampires out there who are born vampires who would feel the same. Unfortunately, you have certain individuals who are lifestylers and occultists and other kin who have, in the vampire community, who refuse to accept the fact that they're not only just that they're other kin, but as far as the vampire community goes, they're really a lifestyler and an occultist, and they want to have the last word on it and try to force the rest of the community to accept them as a born vampire. And it doesn't work like that. With that being said, see you later.